Namaste. Yesterday, Mohan asked a very significant question that which planets and which houses are responsible for sexual encounters. It is a very deep subject and many people don't talk about it. But in this podcast, I am going to talk about it so that those who have gone through certain sexual affairs will understand that why it happened, and those who by mistake got into certain sex affairs or sexual encounters will also understand that what is it that was the reason for these kind of incidents to happen. Many times you are married and then you get into extramarital relation. Many times you are in a relationship and you cheat your girlfriend or boyfriend. Now there are people who continue to do the same thing again and again. They fall from the grace. And then there are people who do such things, but later on they realize their mistake. And these people again rise. And that is the real glory. The real glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time you fall. And so in this podcast, I have specifically highlighted the houses, the planets, and the combination that lead to such kind of sexual encounters. So let's begin with this podcast.
Attraction happens through the fifth house, and the attraction is purely based on the past life karmic pattern. Your taste, your liking, your ideas about a partner, all of this is directly related to your past life karmic pattern. Many a times you see a beautiful woman falling in love with an utterly ugly man, and same way a handsome man falling in love with an utterly ugly woman. But this is how they are meant to be, because their attraction has their past life connection. And so the source of love attraction, or the line I like you, comes from the abode of fifth house. Then comes the partnership, the bonding. This partnership or bonding happens through the seventh house. Now there are millions and millions of cases where the man loves someone but gets married to somebody else. And same way a woman loves someone but eventually gets married to somebody else. So what I am trying to point out is that there is no connection between love and marriage as such. Occasionally there are cases when you marry the person you love, but it is not a must that this is how it has to happen. Sometimes destiny has something else to offer. The seventh house is also connected to public. That is why marriage is connected to the seventh house, because when you get married, you publicly declare your bonding. All the center houses of the chart are connected to the public, to the society as such. Until now, I have explained you the essence of fifth and seventh house as far as attraction and bonding is concerned. And both are connected to intimacy as well as sexual attraction. But the final stamp that reconfirms a sexual encounter or sexual intercourse is the eighth house. Eighth house is directly connected to pure sex. There are many married couples who are not sexually active, but they are very much bonded with love and affection. So in such cases, the eighth house is irrelevant, is not much active, and instead the fifth and the seventh house are very strong, positive, and activated. And then there are examples of marriages or relationships where there is only sex and sometimes sexual violence. In such cases, the presence of the fifth and the seventh is less, whereas the eighth is very prominent, and ideally the eighth house lord is also not placed well or is afflicted by Ra or Mars. Cheating and extramarital affairs or having multiple sex affairs while being in a relationship is all connected to the eighth house, where the eighth is strong while the fifth and seventh are weak. So there is no balance, and when there is no balance, you are bound to commit mistake. Now that I have explained the fifth, seventh and eighth house, let me dive into the planets that signify sexual encounters or sexual intercourse when they get connected to the fifth, seventh and eighth house. The first planet is Venus. Venus is a natural significator of love, romance and sensuality. The second planet is Mars. Mars represents passion, energy and sexual drive. That is why Mars rules Scorpio, and Scorpio falls in the eighth house of the Kala Purush Kundali. And the third and most important planet or entity is Rahu. Rahu amplifies desires and unconventional aspects of relationships. So whenever there is a combination of these three planets and their connection with the fifth, seventh and eighth house, whenever this happens, then you are bound to experience sexual encounters. The eighth house is a house of suddenness, and so if you are going through the Mahadasha or Antardasha of the planet ruling the eighth house and fifth house, then you are definitely going to fall in love and encounter sexual intimacies while this period lasts. Now, if there is a combination of fifth and eighth, then you will fall in love and then you will have sex. But if there is only eighth house, then it's only sex and no love. So what I'm trying to tell you all is that there is nothing to be ashamed of, because whatever happens because of your past karmic connections. Sometimes people fall from grace, but one should remember that the glory is not in never falling, but rising every time you fall. So mistakes happen, but repeating the same mistakes makes you a stupid person. Whereas learning from your mistakes and not repeating those mistakes by raising your awareness is what helps you to rise again in life, and that's what true glory is. And so, if you are a good-hearted person and if you have committed any such mistakes of having multiple sexual encounters or cheating your partner or wife or husband, then you should not have any guilt. Instead, you should not repeat such mistakes and stay loyal to your partner. I don't like those people who pretend or who say that they are never wrong or they will never go wrong. Such kind of people are living in utter ignorance, because you never know how and when the planets will drive you crazy and make an ass of yourself. So never think that you are a clean person and that you will never ever become dirty, because anything can happen with anyone, and history has been a witness to many such real life incidents. So always stay humble, and instead of criticizing and making fun of those who have fallen from grace, support them, help them, give them a second chance, because if it can happen with them, then someday it can also happen with you or with your children. So be compassionate. It is true that each person should live with awareness, but many times past life karma drives one into such kind of sexual encounters. And so, if they are not repeating the same mistakes that they did in past life and this life, then you can show mercy. You can give them a second chance. Remember, one who shows mercy is greater than the one who gives punishment. Enough for now. Jai Sri Ganesha, Jai Guru.
ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः।